Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogbook333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, Kaiserreich, as the German Empire. Now, last time we were here together, well, we went ahead and we started working on some military reforms. It's been too long since I recorded. I do know what happened. The Dutch decided to have a revolution, which I very much did not appreciate. And we're having our own Kristallnacht, which I also do not really appreciate, I'll be honest. Okay, so Sweden should be chill. Then I was looking at just to see. So, last time we were here, we're gonna figure out what to do. You know, this cannot stand, and we are going to head in. We're going to arrest Stryker and Strasser at once. In the meanwhile, we have some tanks. I'll put these guys in there. How's the Union doing? We're sending them over. The events in Berlin divided the national opposition, while the DKP was vehemently against any sort of childish revolutionary action, as the leadership put it. The response against the DVLP was more divided. Not very surprisingly, Hugenberg commended the action of the SP and their DVP affiliates, perhaps with the illusion that he could now use his increasing polarization to position himself as the new leader of the radicalized right, and so use the national populist radicals to gain power. Others in the DVLP were unwilling to expel the DSP from the common front. Some were more sympathetic, yet others were against and took the same position of the DKP on the misguided radicals. Ultimately, the rift grew too quickly for the movement's leaders, such as Schmidt, Westarp, and Hassel, to cover it up. Pressured by the moderate, conservative wing, the DKP announced their decision to withdraw from the Brunswick Committee, soon joined by many right-wing statesmen who had gotten involved in the alliance of the right. What remains of a united resistance against our government is now united around an increasingly fragile Fatherland party. The fools fight amongst themselves. Look at that. Well, that's mighty interesting. In London, trouble was brewing this morning over the note verbale of the Tom administration arrived in our embassy in the Carlton House Terrace, demands the immediate appearance of the Ambassador Leopold von Horsch at the British Foreign Office. Normally, such drastic measures are only taken in case of serious policy agreements between the two states, but in recent months, London has made the use of this tool quite often and expressed their disagreement with all kinds of dissident-related events taking place somewhere on German soil. Accordingly, our ambassador was not very surprised when it transpired that the matter at hand was another trivial one. It turned out that recently British counterintelligence had arrested two members of the Committee for the Restoration in Great Britain in Dover, found compromising documents of them revealed their ties to our Secret Service, Ableitung Dreibe. Of course, London now demands that measures against that are initiated immediately. Hosch is thus faced with a foreign political dilemma. In principle, it is not uncommon nowadays for intelligence services to have opposition members of rival states on their payroll. In the syndicalist bloc, it is common practice to support the left-wing scene in Germany, too, even when we have no tangible proof of this. In addition, the German Foreign Office has no control over the Secret Service, and therefore cannot be held responsible for this incident. Therefore, this British harassment, one of many in a row, seems like an act of deliberate provocation. Now, for the following question arises: are we really willing to grant the British concessions in the name of international détente, or is it a better option to remain uncompromising and rebuff this audacious request? After all, no foreign country has the right to intervene in our domestic affairs. This is a farce. As one of the most renowned representatives of Germany's diplomatic corps, Leopold von Horch always knows which words are needed in what situation to act in the Empire's best defense. After short consultation with Berlin, he has decided to rebuff London's audacious demands in a polite but determined way. Germany's supposed ties to the British citizens have been dismissed as regrettable but legal ventures by private individuals, and the alleged links of the captured saboteurs to the security service are bogus. Naturally, London is enraged about our reaction, but in no position to do anything against it. Using such a minor incident with questionable proof to provoke open conflict would ruin the reputation of a syndicalist bloc on the global stage, especially considering that they have been complicit of similar deeds in the past. We have demonstrated our integrity and determination for another time. Unwilling to concede this act of obvious and deliberate provocation, foreign political doves may disagree with this assessment, and surely will soon overwhelm the cabinet with countless angry memoranda. As Bismarck said, "We will become the anvil if we do nothing to become the hammer." We could go after the Dutch right now, but that's not a good idea, is it? I'm going to go ahead and restrict protective custody in Prussia, just because I know we're running out of days for the demand for action. And stability sounds nice. Protective custody was introduced into Prussian law in 1848 to allow Prussian police to detain individuals who had not committed any crime indefinitely and without judicial control. It must establish restrictions on this practice that many of our comrades have experienced in order to protect the freedom of the individual. There we go. The Brunswick Committee, established less than a year ago during the meeting of the Brunswick Front, has closed down, as it is no longer has the funds or momentum to keep going. Protests and rallies against our government will cease, and the moderate conservatives, such as the DKP, instead offer us a hand of careful cooperation, provided we curtail our party's radical tendencies. Humiliated by their failed resistance against our government, the German right is shattered. Their moderate wing no longer seeks to topple the first social democratic government through any means necessary, whereas the radical wing right is splintering. The past months reopened old rifts between Hassel and Hugenberg within the DVLP, and it is believed that no reconciliation between them is possible. Hassel is sure to blame his second chairman for the collapse of the Brunswick Front, which means that a purge, a splinter, and subsequent decline of the radical right is coming soon. There is no country for these old men. Look at that. Meanwhile, we keep winning. The newest comic of Georg Ramier Herge, I'm not sure, takes place in the Qing Empire, where the reporter Tintin is sent to dismantle drug trafficking. It is known that Herge was helped by his work by a young student from the Asian city of Shanghai named Zhang Chongren, who came to Flanders, Wallonia to study fine arts. The expertise of Zhang led to a striking and realistic representation of Chinese society and contributed greatly to the enormous success of both the book and both Europe and China. The book criticizes the weakness and the corruption of the Qing government as well as the Japanese presence in Manchuria, and is, as such, banned in both of these countries. So exciting. Okay, let me get working on research. I'll go ahead and work on this in the meanwhile. Mauser. I want to apologize for not uploading anything last week. I got distracted by the fact that it was my birthday week. And as a result, I was just kind of, transport plane and naval bombers. We can get working on some. Let's get working on some more planes, actually. As a result, I kind of got a little distracted, so I do apologize for that. I hope you understand that I have at least a little bit of an excuse. We're doing okay loyalty-wise, so we're okay. After the unification of the German Empire, Prussian penal law was adopted as common imperial penal law, including paragraph 175, which punishes all acts of male homosexuality with imprisonment and loss of civil rights. Ever since its adoption, this paragraph has been the target of an active public campaign led by the Scientific Humanitarian Committee, the Wissenschaftlich Humanitarisches Committee, led by Magnus Hirschfeld. In 1897, the SPD first presented a proposal to abolish the paragraph to the Reichstag, and has consistently fought to legalize homosexuality since. In the struggle, they have now been joined by radical socialists and progressive liberals alike, and they have now gained power and formed a cabinet. The organizations that campaigned for paragraph 175's abolition once again sent a petition to amend penal law. Understandably, not everyone in a coalition will be happy with the proposal to legalize consensual homosexuality. Right-wing members of Zentrum, cooperating with the Protestant conservatives, have even fought to expand paragraph 175, seeking to increase its penalties, ban female homosexuality, and classify certain cases of homosexuality, such as prostitution, as severe cases. It will take significant pressure and negotiation to bend our partners to support the law, but perhaps it is a price worth paying. Surely our partners will agree to support us if we make concessions. Right? Maybe. Let's look at advisors. I've realized. I like Fritz Tarnow. Let's go with him. How are we doing air-wise? We're fine, looks like. Let's do survivability studies. That's the Democratic one, right? I think it is. Yep, it is. Let's spend some effort to give us back in one note, and then we have a Sedentag. All hail the Kaiserreich. These guys over here. these guys. Well, that ought to be interesting. Let's do uniform municipal law. A new constitution should include an imperial municipalities law, which will establish uniform powers, duties, and rights of municipal authorities across the entire empire. This will drastically reduce the complexity of local laws and make enforcement of legislation far easier. Oh god, we are encircled. Oh, wonderful. No one's joining the Entente. That's probably okay, right? A lengthy investigation by the police of the Kingdom of Prussia and the Reich Treasury confirmed that Riemsta, one of the largest cigarette manufacturers in the German Empire, has been using consistent political pressure in order to bypass numerous laws against a hostile acquisition of opposing cigarette brands and avoid tobacco taxes in numerous member states of the empire. The sons of the company's founder, Bernard, Hermann, and Philipp Riemsma, transformed it into an impressively profitable enterprise since his death. It appears that was done through illicit deeds. Well, it's highly concerning to the Treasury that this is not the first time that Riemsta is falling under suspicion by the federal authorities. An investigation into their tax evasion was first initiated in 1926, but it was discontinued, and a similar investigation in 1932 ended in the same way. Government officials suspected that this, too, was a result of their political pressure, perhaps connections and friends in high levels of government. In the investigation, we must know the truth. Can we handle the truth, though? Join the coalition in the left. Great. Let's... Alexander Makovsky, a leading figure in the Young Kashubians Association, has been working to release his project, the History of Kashubia, in snippets for the Griff newspaper since 1922, and in book form since 1936, in reaction to Geschichte der Kashuben by Friedrich Lorenz. Lorenz's book was perceived as a history of Germanization Kashubia. Makovsky decided to highlight Kashubian nationality Slavic by beginning his book with a short history of Slavic nationalities. He perceived that the Western Slavs, including Pomeranians and Kashubians, were influenced by Western Europe, with Germans' main influence strengthened by Germanization. It was followed by a geographical overview of Kashubia, its local groups, and the historians of the nation. Later, the book presented history from legends through pagan culture, Polish rule, the Duchy of Pomerania from under the local Sobieslawi dynasty, Teutonic rule, renewed Polish administration, and finally Prussian rule, which lasts to the present day. Alexander Makovsky didn't live long enough to see his book published, as he passed away earlier this year when it was being printed. A committee was formed, made up of former colleagues, who decided to publish the book in his name alongside the novel Zechi I Brzogi Rimusa. Since release, the book was met with harsh criticism from the right, who called for banning the book, but has been lauded by Kashubian and liberal politicians. Kashubians deserve to have the history of their nation finally written by one of them. I agree. Probably. The Batavians hopping up here is just very, very annoying. More street lashes, but that helps with general loyalty, so I'll take that. Look at that. Through appeasement of conservative politicians, civil service reforms would break down the influence of reactionary forces in German society, finally broken in their resistance to our rule. One after another, major conservative politicians from leadership to the DKP to the movers and shakers of agrarian industrial interest groups choose to take on a path of cooperation and waiting, committing to a peaceful transfer of power after elections rather than political sabotage. Though not everyone will accept our progressive coalition, far-right parties such as the DVP or DSP, or the interest groups such as the Pan-German League will always continue to spread insidious anti-democratic, anti-parliamentarian, and anti-Semitic propaganda. But they are no threat alone. Good. Oh. Here go the Greeks. Now these guys are actually pushing in fairly well. Now let's go ahead and reinforce Alsatian fortifications. The revanchism in military of the Communards force us to review the state of our border fortifications in the West, though we should always expect a victorious lightning war. It should not hurt to give some attention to our defensive measures either, in case of this war turns out differently from the first time, rather. Call to summon for peace. Can let agrarian parties. Let's reform the real credit market. The Junkers firmly control the municipal administrations east of the Elbe. Many local credit institutions as well as provincial commissions are subverted by their henchmen, which means that government funds for the East often end up in the wrong pockets. Counteract this, we will appoint a state commissioner to supervise the fair distribution of funds in Prussia, and will increase our control over the Prussian Central Cooperative Fund, a nominally independent credit union, which has favored especially highly indebted Junkers in the past years, and then has to be put to the increasing indebtedness of large, inefficient estates, and funds are needed to reach the small-scale farmers that are truly in need. For many of our fellow citizens, West Prussia is an archetypical barren farmland in the middle of nowhere. Everything beyond Danzig, the pearl of the Baltic Sea, is associated at the very most with romanticized images from the times of Teutonic Knights. However, West Prussia is much more than that. It is the link between East and West, between the Baltic and Poland, and its lifeline, Vistula, offers enormous potential for urbanization. Years of rural exodus must finally be counteracted. The hinterland between larger regional centers such as the Elbing, Graudens, Dürschau, and Thorn is characterized by countless small villages which, if they grew closer together through settlement measures initiated by us, will form an increasingly urbanized bulwark against creeping Polonization. Although the province's raw material base is relatively sparse, its agricultural potential, especially for the livestock sector, is enormous. The days of unbridled grain cultivation are over, and in the future the West Prussian farmers should specialize in what the province is widely known for: excellent dairy products and the cultivation of sugar beet. Of course, industrialization efforts can't be neglected either. Danzig is famous for its wharves. The Komnik Motor Works in Elbing bear an enormous potential for the motorization of the province. The iron foundry of Hetzfeld und Victories in Graudens is the largest of its kind in northeastern Germany. Nonetheless, employment in the secondary sector is rather sparse compared to the other provinces. The countryside, there must be further rationalization of distillery enterprises, sugar refineries, and the wood industry. If the port facilities in Danzig are then gradually expanded, and the motorway network is expanded, nothing will stand in the way. I'm going to set these off here. Nothing will stand in the way of exemplary developments anymore. A strengthened West Prussia will lead to a better integration of even more rural Posen and far-flung East Prussia, and improve the over East Albion economy. German essence will be preserved through German labor. I got some extra manpower going, and I should check. Am I going to be able to go up? I can, and I very much should. So I'm going to save up political power so I can get to limited conscription. Oh, would you look at that? The deal with the devil. Oh god, yeah, alright guys, well, let's get an F in chat for those, poor soldiers. Rest in peace to all soldiers who died in the service. I dived in their cervix. Panama wants investments. If I'm not mistaken... Oh no, that was Costa Rica. Okay, sure. Well, that's gonna be interesting. Speaking of interesting, the Empire. Oh, I was talking about this, but also Ethiopia. The Empire of Ethiopia has been brought more closely with German fold since Middle Africa bought our shares. The DKAB Railroad in 36. They're now requesting German military mission to modernize their army. If they are victorious in the upcoming war against their Somali foes, they may even join the Reichspakt. A small sacrifice for an ally. In the meanwhile, let's do this. We must establish a secure southern and southeastern front before the Second Weltkrieg. Allying with countries like Bulgaria, the Caucasian statelets, or even Iran and Afghanistan will relieve Russian and Serbo-Romanian pressure and allow our armies to focus on the main enemy. I don't know how likely it is for us to get Greece. That might be interesting. We already have the Caucasus. Careful analysis of declared and undeclared income, as well as investigations into the activities of the Remster brothers during the 31 to 32 time frame, has confirmed that they staved off corruption investigations due to connections with DBLP's member of the Reichstag, Hermann Göring. Göring, the Weltkrieg flying ace, was forced into retirement in 28 after a series of conflicts with Air Force leadership, so affairs coming to light and him openly flaunting his support for the far right. The DVLP came to the defense of his slandered war hero, and Göring subsequently ran as their candidate in 31 elections, winning the only Bavarian constituency for the party in Nuremberg. In the Reichstag, Göring generally stayed in the background, largely irrelevant to the party's activities, but used his new status for personal enrichment. Large donations from Reemster allowed him to fund an extravagant lifestyle, acquiring a hunting lodge and purchased numerous artworks. In retrospect, it should not have been hard to guess that this Goldfassen life was financed through bribery. The nationwide outrage is enormous, and even Göring's old allies are forced to distance themselves from him. The former ace defended himself to the best of his ability and declared this to be Judea Marxist slander, but ultimately chose to resign. The courts will now decide his fate, and they will not be kind. A stain on the honor of the party of Tirpitz and the Ufstrikrafte. Well, look at that. The DVLP is imploding. Oh no. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave things there, my friends, but I thank you as always for watching. If you like this video, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you have any comments, feedback, leave in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get, and I do appreciate any feedback you might have for me. Send volunteers, you say. Very tempting. Thanks always for watching, friends. If you like this, didn't leave any comments, feedback down in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get, and I do appreciate any of you might have for me. Check in my various links in the description box below. Hit the sub button and the notification bell to keep updated with these uploads as they come out. And yeah, that's been it for now, my friends. My name has been Mr. Dogbot333. I thank you all for watching. And as the world begins to implode, I will see you all next time. Hold on, let me read this real quick. Badisha Aninin and Safadik, or BASF, record earnings as the latest largest oil company operating in Germany and Eastern Europe as a whole. Surprise. It's no surprise. Fantastic initiative. Wonderful. Yeah, alright. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye now.